morning and welcome to In the Garden. I'm Robert Sane, Interim Pastor of Holy Communion Lutheran Church, and I'd like to welcome you here to our farm in Vail, North Carolina. This series will combine gardening tips with our faith. Where I live, you can see part of the farm behind me, perhaps. I grew up on an apple farm, an apple orchard. Later on, my folks went into the greenhouse business. And after I moved back here about 20 years ago, gardening has been an important part of my life. Not only my life, but my wife Susan's as well. Now I don't have apple trees or greenhouses, and the land is being farmed by our neighbors, mainly wheat, soybeans, corn. But what we do have around our place is we've got raised beds, traditional row gardening, and then a number of flower beds with shrubbery, trees, herbs, perennials, and annuals. Susan and I find a lot of enjoyment as we deal with those kinds of things. In this series, we're going to be talking about how to do a garden. Now is an important time to be doing gardening, since so many of us are at home, and with the uncertainty of the economy, raising vegetables and teaching our children and grandchildren the value in doing things like this, I believe is critically important and can be a way to not only pass the time, but to use the time in a wise way. So more than just growing crops, though, is we have the element of faith. The scriptures speak in so many places relative to faith, with images of agriculture and gardening. For instance, in the second creation story found in Genesis 2, the first human, Adam, is named dirt or soil or earth, and he was placed in a garden. So from the very beginning, the biblical narrative begins in a garden. And of course, with Jesus Christ in the New Testament, we know it was in a garden where he prayed. It was in a garden where he first appeared as the resurrected Lord. He spoke about agriculture and gardening terminology many times throughout the Gospels. From the 13th chapter of Matthew, a sower went out to sow seeds. Another example, Luke 8:13, he compared the kingdom of heaven to a mustard seed. In another instance, Luke 20, there was the image of a vineyard and a vineyard owner. In fact, vineyards are mentioned 166 times in the Old and New Testament. And John uses the metaphor of a vine and branches to describe the relationship between God and the church. And of course, many different times Jesus spoke about shepherds and sheep, which are also a part of agriculture and farming. You may be wondering this morning why I'm inside if I'm doing a gardening show. We've had some cold weather recently. I know those of you who are watching from the mountains, perhaps you've seen some snow falling in the last couple of days. But here this morning it was about 38 degrees, and so I'm using our indoor garden. You can see some of Susan's plants that are here around us. We're going to be looking at raised beds. We're going to be looking at traditional row gardens. We're going to be looking at pruning trees, pruning vines, and just general upkeep and maintenance of the way things grow around your house. So I'm looking forward to it, and I'm glad that you can join me for this series. I hope you have a great day.